Hey guys, this is Bridget. Alright, I'm gonna give really beautiful information and sacred transmission as best as I can today for you. I'm here in Asheville, North Carolina, very sacred land, ancient land, Cherokee land, and to bring in this idea of the 7 generations behind, the 7 generations ahead of us. And it's potent, this idea, so I'll do my best to honor it. And if you can, take really conscious time to watch this video, not just in traffic or like at work, just, you know, maybe before bed or something, so that you can really tune into this and take a big juicy bite into this energy and idea. So when I was doing the deep ancestral work, we were always shown that from 7 generations behind, from your ancestors, there's a spiraling energy vortex of DNA, energetically, and a lot of ways that manifest physically, from the generations before. So go watch my ancestral video to learn all about that. And this is even scientific. Nassim Haramein has studied this a lot. And so if there are any breaks in the energy from behind, from your ancestors, because each 7 generations it resets, then you will have challenges, and it can manifest emotionally, energetically, all different ways. And you can also have infinite blessings by connecting in with this ancestral energy, and really it's your support from behind. So go watch that ancestral video to understand that in full. For this video, I wanted to talk about the 7 generations to come. So my energy has always been focused behind because I've been working at it, because whatever is undone or unfixed, I will then pass on. You will pass on to your children. And so I've been just cleaning everything out, realigning that transmission of energy, but it's always been focused behind, always been focused behind. And I guess I'm either in a stage of my journey or just, stage of life that it's time to flip it around. And this idea of the 7 generations is, again, ancient. It has been practiced in most tribal cultures around the world. They understood the concept, which is every decision, every action that we take as a society, as a culture, must take into consideration the 7 generations to come. And so do we chop down this forest? Well, what is it going to do to the 7 generations to come? Do we put this pharmaceutical place on a river? What's it going to do to the 7 generations to come? Do we have a war? What is that going to do to the 7 generations to come? So the question is always of what we do, followed by what is its impact. And we kind of have that in the Western culture, this much. We're oh yeah, how is it going to affect the generations? And then it just disappears out of our consciousness, and we're let's drill, and it's just this strange, convoluted thing. But I understand that because I haven't gotten a grasp on what it means to the future generations until just recently, really. One of the most beautiful things about this 7 generation principle is that it works. It was first documented in the Great Law of the Iroquois Confederation. So that was the first time it was actually documented, which was around 800 years ago. They don't know exactly, but the idea is this principle actually works for hundreds and hundreds and even thousands of years, whereas a lot of the ideas we come up with, we're we come up with an idea and then it just screws everything up. After 10 years, it's oh man, and that's okay. But it's just if we can reorient our perspective. And one of the things that freaks me out a little bit, even as I'm coming up with what I should tell you guys or what's coming through, I'm well, they need a reason that it affects them, or some benefit that they can gain as to incorporate this. So one of the things that I'll tell you a story of what happened last night, but one of the ideas I was thinking about in making this video is like, well, if they can see that it will then end up helping them, then they'll do it. And I'm like, no, it's not about you. It's about the future generations. And that's part of the whole challenge with our mindset right now, is it's so self-centered. And I'm into the idea of making sure that we're taken care of and making sure that we're benefited. But of course we're going to be benefited if it helps the future generations. It's already like worked into the system. So it really comes down, this idea really comes down to service to others and that offering that we can give. And that service to others beyond ourselves, beyond even our lifetime, is what's so significant and what is so special. And so how can we give? How can we contribute? And so this first came up, this switch clicked. I was at a cacao ceremony, like prayer concert in Sedona with some of my friends. I'll put their links in the comments below, and they were singing these songs for the 7 generations because they're very indigenously oriented. And even going into the indigenous stuff, it all of a sudden becomes all about like the plant medicines, which are great, but again it comes back to ourselves and like the heightened experience, and it's like, it's not about that, it's about giving, it's about service, it's about offering. And ultimately that's what those ceremonies were about. That's what the Vision Quest was about, is how can I find my medicine to give to the tribe for this time space that I can assist to build, to cultivate for the next generation to come. And I was talking about it with my friend yesterday, and she's amazing, and she was talking about how it's really about, in this life, rewiring the codes that are kind of screwy from these 7 generations behind, and rewiring them and reorienting them because we can, because we have the star transmission, because we know the ultimate direction to go, and rewiring them for the future. So this is like a reorientation life for the greater collective, that we can personally do for our lineages and our culture and our collective, so that the next generation to come is again benefited. And this is such a gift, again, this perspective to reorient our course of action, our course of thought. Because when we're thinking, okay, what is this decision, what is this action going to do for the 7 generations to come, then it's like, oh, should I keep on watching all this crazy conspiracy stuff that like is taking me down a different timeline? It's not only taking you down a different timeline, it's taking all of your ancestors, like all of your future children to come and their families and like the whole world down a different timeline. And so taking in a different level of responsibility and accountability, and sometimes that's helpful. I find that sometimes that's helpful for me. It's like, well, you know, a little self-sabotage to myself, you know, okay, I can handle that, or sometimes we like to do that in a variety of ways, but this is more than you. This is so much more, and you came for something more, to give. That's why most of you watching this are starseeds. You came freaking from the highest transmissions possible to give this to the earth. So really staying on course, and I think that's what this does. And one of my hopefully soon-to-be friends, she doesn't know me yet, maybe she will soon, Ayla Nero, she has this song called actually The Course, which is the course we're going down, and it's talking about like who will call the rain in the future, like who will bring down and fully communicate with the elements, with the spirit of nature, for our future, you know, and it's a calling of that, and I'll put that song link down below, and that's really affected me lately too. And so all this coming together, it's like, okay, what can I give to this 7 generations to come, and how can I make my life more of service to them, and starting to really tune into them, like tune into what you want that to be. And that's where the whole Willa-Hilla-Chrissing energy comes in. Put a link below, but like the future hybrids, and it's like, well, what does this have to do with the stars? Has everything to do with the stars, which I will talk about in my next video, which will be about grounding because it's this disorientation of like, well, I'm from the stars, I'm not even on this planet, I'm not even supposed to be here, like, and you're telling me to like dig my roots in deeper and like help future generations? I have like one toe on the planet. And it's like, yes, exactly, that's what you're supposed to do, is dig in deeper, because you have the frequency ability that can actually give and provide what needs to be anchored here. So this Willa-Hilla-Christine energy, it's that the star beings, once we merge in this life, that's another theme of this life, is connecting again with our star family and bringing them back to Earth, bringing ourselves back to Earth, bringing them back to Earth, get it? And then from that place we create from the infinite knowledge that we are of the stars, right? So these generations to come will be intimately connected with the stars and intimately connected with the earth. And so, but what do they need? What do you envision it to be? And play with that idea. It's like, I envision that 7 generations to come, which will be probably 1,000 years in the future, because they should be living at least 100, 200, maybe even more years, they must drink out of streams. That's one of the things that I want to see my great-great-great-great-great-grandchild do, is they go to a stream, they go to a river, and they can drink from it. And they can interact with it. And those waters hold codes of the past, of history, of the infinite, of the ancient, that they can access because we activated it. We cleaned it, you know? And like this, and it seems primitive, but it's not. There's so much wisdom in the primitive, you know? It's like the crystals are the things that will hold all of the future. They'll be our zip drives, you know, they'll be our USB drives. They hold all information. So beginning to merge the idea of the primitive with the stars, and to realize that it's very advanced technology. And when we realize that it's advanced technology, this earth, then we can honor it much more. And when we realize our connection from behind to our ancestors, then we can realize that we then have the current, when we feel that current again running through us, as it moves and we feel full, we're like, okay, now it's time to pass it on. And that's another thing that's interesting, is I know a lot of woke people who don't want to have kids. And it's like, you're the one that needs to, you know? And so it's this interesting thing where to make sure to deliver this energy forward. And it doesn't necessarily have to be through a kid. It can be adept enough to be transmitted through adoption, or even just through being and giving the transmission to, you know, other young children of different families. Of course it can be passed on in many ways, but just thinking about and reorienting to, I am passing this on. How can I provide? How can I teach? How can I embed? And if we have nothing to give, to provide, to embed in the future yet, then we better get on it, you know? We better remember our past. We better get down, get rooted, get wise, and tune into that, because we each have so much to give. So that is the idea of the 7-generation principle. And just begin to orient your perspective of everything you do, everything you think, to that approach. And the world, the children, everything, every person will be blessed through it, coming through that current of honoring, of service, of the big picture. You know, it's like, it's the big picture. We need to think 1,000 years into the future, not think like, oh, will this road work for another 5 years? It's like, no, think big. And so like broadening that perspective and having enough fullness within ourselves to hold that space. Imagine those ancestors, you know, that held that. That's so beautiful. Like, where it's like they have enough fullness, they have enough depth and rootedness, like, into the ground to hold that container for generations. That's so beautiful. Okay, getting emotional about this, but I think that's important. You know, it's important to feel, really important. And so now, because you guys sat through this, I'm gonna start giving gems to the end of videos, because it's for those who watch it and are ready. But I had this amazing experience last night, and there's a direct correlation, and I've said this before, between doing your personal work and going in the direction of the good of the all and the good of you, that totally pays off, and you are benefited, and your higher self will gift you and grant you more awakening, more perspective, more consciousness for going down that path, and to having the courage to do it, the courage to change, the courage to move from that space. So I've been really dedicated, even though it seems counterintuitive. It's like, oh, I need to focus on the stars, I need to focus on, like, you know, the aliens and stuff. It's like, no. I'm feeling a deep call to the earth. I'm feeling a deep call to the ancients, and to the natural ways, and to this other way of being, and trusting that. And so that's what I've been doing. I've been trusting that. And yesterday we were, you know, up on the top of these crystal mountains and talking about these ideas, and I have felt the call to, you know, leave Sedona, and I'm doing the best I can to just to open and to move and to shift as much as I possibly can. And so last night in my dream, I was like, I shifted dimensions, and I was with these beautiful, like, African people. I think it was in Africa, but there were red rocks, don't know how that works. And they presented me with this almost like hemp paper painting of this woman. And I saw the painting, and I just lost it in the dream, just started bawling and bawling and bawling. And I knew her. And it was one of those magic moments, you know, whether you just remember more of your infinite self. And in the dream, I wasn't even quite allowed to know who she was, you know, even though there's an inkling that she is likely my future self, and likely my future self, like, on Earth or in this integrated energy. She could be even maybe like a future daughter or a future generation. And I woke up just bawling and deeply moved at this remembrance. And it came because I'm doing the work, and you get these little beautiful gifts and these little markers along the way. And so it's one of those things that it's a trick. It's a way of doing it, and it's like, I want to offer that, you know, bit of wisdom to you, but it's like, we can't do it for that. It's not like, okay, I'll, like, do my work and, like, stretch myself or leave my job or do this thing so that I can get more ET contact, or so I can get this, you know, profound visionary experience. It's like, that's not what it's about. But it is a ripple of what you put out coming back, and in even more magical ways than you can imagine. So that is all for now. Keep that in your hearts. Meditate on that. I think that's one of the most beautiful things we can do, because so much of this spiritual awakening is about us, just individually, you know, personally. And it is that, because if we're whacked out, we can't do much for other people. So we definitely have to do the personal side, but letting the personal movement be for the greater good, which is you, right? And that future child, that future generation, is you. So yeah, I hope that you've gleaned whatever you find useful and necessary from this transmission, and I will be back. I'll try and get it up as soon as possible, but I'll have a video on grounding, and it kind of, this energy weaves into it. So it's kind of a mini series, I guess you could say. So I'll have that up in a few days probably, and then soon to be the sustainability series, because that's all about the 7 generations. So anyways, I love you, thank you, like, share, comment. This idea needs to be put out in whatever way you imagine and moves you. So anyways, I love you, thank you, see you soon.